Thank you everyone for joining us, and sorry to drag you away from another delicious lunch. Either I'm looking at a lot of smart people that know that talent is a real problem, or you've come to collect your debts that I've promised you over the last 2 days. So thanks for joining us. I thought I'd start off by just setting the scene for a couple of minutes before we introduce the panel. And there's probably no better way to start that than by asking the audience a question. So if you don't mind, I wanted to ask you something quite simple, but hopefully will lead to quite an obvious answer. If you were sitting next to someone of the younger generation right this second, would you honestly recommend a career in aviation to them? If the answer is yes, can you raise your hand, please? All the way up, Gary? Okay. Well, that's actually quite encouraging, because I've seen a number of polls over the last few years that's kind of gone the opposite way. And I guess this is business aviation, right? This is the sexy side of the industry. So if we're not shouting about it and trying to inspire the next generation, you kind of wonder what hope we've got of a future. Actually, LinkedIn recently did a study that showed you're 3 times more likely to pursue a career that's recommended you by someone you trust. So is it any surprise then, in some of the other sectors outside of business aviation, we've still got these big skills gaps and talent shortages? A lot of you in this room probably know Steve Vassano, founder of the jet business. I wanted to bring his name up today because that guy really is inspiring the next generation. In fact, his TikTok account alone has over 40 million likes. And one of his videos has just surpassed 32 million views. Now, I don't have TikTok. I don't think my mother's got TikTok. My grandma definitely didn't have TikTok. But the next generation do, and they're watching. In fact, right now, we've got more generations working side by side in business aviation than ever before. Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, and soon to be Gen Alpha, heaven forbid. Now, as a father of 3, my eldest is 14. It kind of worries me, actually, the thought of him entering the workplace in a couple of years' time. And I think to myself, how well will he integrate? Are we going to be able to inspire him to join our industry? Talking about inspiration, we heard the 2 Davids talking about, they touched on eVTOL yesterday, and whether or not, excuse the pun, it's going to take off or not. It's doing amazing things from a talent perspective for our industry. Innovators, technologists, entrepreneurs, engineers, they're flocking to the sector because of the exciting new innovation and the new technologies. And at the end of the day, that's a win for aviation. And we need to think about how we can retain that talent and keep enticing it into our industry. Now, in my opinion, the workplace, based on those different generations, should be more diverse and inclusive than ever before. Yet we have huge talent gaps and massive staff shortages globally across the industry. And the core question is, why is that? And what can we do as industry leaders to change things and do things differently? Thank goodness for you, I'm not here to answer these questions alone, and we've got a wonderful team of panelists from across the business aviation industry joining us today. So if you'd like to come up and I'll introduce you, please, that would be great. This was pre-organised, all in order, very, very formal, excellent. Mabel, you're here. All right. So, from left to right, we have Mabel Yiu, Director of Human Resources at Metrojet in Hong Kong. Mabel's got 20 years in HR experience in talent acquisition, management, training and development, employee engagement, and compensation and benefits. Mabel remains very passionate about growing and coaching staff and building a positive people culture within the company. Then we have Winston Hoo, Director of Operations at Bombardier Singapore. Winston's a licensed engineer with 32 years aviation experience in the commercial and business jet industry. For the past 17 years, he's also been actively involved in business aviation management. Then we've got Brendan Tooley, CEO of Air Charter Service here in Singapore. Brendan's been with ACS now for 19 years, having relocated from the company's UK head office in 2020 to establish and grow the business in Southeast Asia, while positioning Singapore as a key hub for the region. Next, we have Max Chayanin, CCO of MJets, joining us today from Thailand. Max oversees the full commercial portfolio of MJets, with a distinguished career in both management consultancy and commercial aviation. He has an extensive expertise in business development and strategic growth. Finally, last but not least, Nimrod Meuleman, Vice President for Business Aviation and Helicopter Training for the EMEAA at CAE. Nimrod's got over 20 years of experience in leadership positions in business and commercial aircraft sales, training center operations, management and regulatory compliance, with the last being the managing director of their JV Emirates CAE flight training in Dubai. I thought it would be good to kick things off by touching on the current talent landscape. So Nimrod, if we could start with you, please. When you take a look at the talent pipelines in business aviation today, what keeps you up at night and perhaps what's less of a problem than it was, say, 5 years ago?
Thank you very much, William. So I don't know if you know, CAE recently shared a report, and it's the aviation talent report 2025, and we're looking 10 years ahead. And it's a worrying sign. Overall, the market requires 1.5 million aviation professionals between now and 2034. Of that, 102,000 are pilots alone. That's commercial and business aviation. And if you break it down into business aviation, that's 33,000 business jet pilots will require in the next 10 years. What's even more worrying than the pilot side, it's 60,000 technicians required to support that fleet. If I look at the APAC region, which accounts for about 7% of that number, you're looking at roughly 3,000 pilots required between now and 2034 and 4,000 technicians. So that keeps me up at night, and that should keep you all up at night as well. As you know, the market is growing. We've talked about it this week. Indonesia growing, China resurfacing again, India growing, the Middle East growing, but we're not counting America growing or all the other places that are growing. And they are basically taking the same pipeline of talent to those regions as well. And don't forget, you're competing against the airlines as well, and the airlines have record backlog of airliners to be delivered. And then now, with the geopolitical challenges that we face, we see the defense industry also ramping up. They need more pilots, warfighters, technicians, maintenance. So there's not an infinite pool that we can, go to. It's very, very limited. So we, as an industry, we really need to look at ourselves and our business and how can we cooperate together to make sure that we have the pilots, the mechanics, the technicians, the expertise to continue to support our growth in the industry.
Thanks, Nimrod. That's great. And Mabel, out of interest, where do you see the biggest skills gaps in the market right now, please?
You mean the market landscape right now on the talent side? Actually, I fully agreed on what Nimrod just shared with us, because, business aviation is absolutely a technical-driven industry, right? But on the other hand, we also need to complement by some soft skill side, like, the client-driven mindset, communications, and the management, project management, leadership, a lot of things. So, that's why we need to have, in Metrojet, and then we need to have a robust training program, how to complement on those technical and the non-technical person together, right? So, and then we can help each other. It's not just purely on the maintenance side or flight operation side, as well as, even though in HR, I also need to learn all those technical things, right? So it's a one family, one company instead of just being silo. So and I think this is very important that the market they need to just not only purely focusing on those aviation knowledge, but how to complement all those soft skills into their technical knowledge so that the industry can be roaming. Yeah.
Thanks. And Winston, you hire at volume at points throughout the year. What are you seeing as the challenging positions to hire right now in Asia?
The challenging position that we're going to hire now is more of sophisticated engineer. Engineers of nowadays not just need to know aircraft knowledge. They also need to be software driven. They need to load software. So especially in the B2 area. So a lot of the old engineers, we work on old electronic system. But right now, we have training engineers in this computer software loading as well. So this is one area that, like what Mabel mentioned, you do not just train them on technical skills that CE provided and the soft skill. And also you can train them on, I'm sad to say, a bit of software loading, a little bit of programming, and the new generation of engineers tends to take the easier way out. So I say a lot of them, they are not equipped with this. And we're going to bridge the gap between the Gen X and the Gen Z engineer as well. So the Gen X is afraid of doing those work, and then Gen Z is good at doing those work. So, yep, it's figuring how to make them talk to each other and get this moving.
Brilliant, thank you. And Brendan, what do you think is behind the fight for talent in business aviation right now? Is it about attracting the next generation, retaining experience, or both?
Yeah, so I'm obviously coming at it from the charter perspective, so we're a charter brokerage, and I guess it depends on if you're recruiting somebody with experience or without. So charter operators, they're probably going to be trying to recruit with a little bit of experience because, it's going to be an easier transition from one company to another, but then they've got to, potentially worry about potentially upsetting pockets of the sort of businesses that they might be working and have a working relationship with. So that makes the pool really small. The market here in Asia is really such a small market. So if you're recruiting with experience, it's tough, and you've got to put a lot of effort and time into recruitment. Where we come in is, we recruit with no experience, as a charter brokerage. And what we'll do is we'll build that person up. We'll find the person with the right sales skills because I can't train someone to be driven, and I can't train someone to be motivated by money. That is something that people either have or they don't. And if I find that person, doesn't matter if they've got aviation experience or not, I can train aviation experience around those core skills. But the problem with that is that takes time, so we might take 2-3 years to train up a broker before we see any kind of return on investment. And that then becomes a retention issue, a massive retention issue. Because if I lose that person, 2 or 3 years has just gone out the window, and I've got to, I might only recruit maybe one person a year. If I lose one person in 2 years, I've lost 50% of my pipeline. So retention is for me, I think, the main thing. And yeah, retention is a very complicated subject, and I think we'll probably touch on it a bit later. But I think, yeah, retention if you're not looking at experience, but otherwise, yeah, recruitment.
It doesn't help that ACS have an amazing training program, so you're kind of a good target, right, I suppose, for the competition. Okay, thanks. And Nimrod, just going back to you, please. I wanted to touch on, I suppose, the generational perspectives, bridging that gap between current leadership and Gen Z, which I know for a lot of my clients is a concern sometimes. So, Nimrod, what do you see as the biggest misunderstanding between these two generations, leadership and Gen Z, and what can we do to create better synergies between them both, please?
Well, I think you gave a great example, Steve Bassano, using TikTok. I don't see much of the industry, our level, using TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. LinkedIn, yeah, most of us all know LinkedIn. And we do use some other, WhatsApp. But I don't see us using the tools that our children or younger generation are using now. And that's what we need to drive within our industry. That means leaders like us need to make sure that when we work with our corporate communication departments, and obviously promotional items and everything, that needs to be really focused on what the youth of today is using. And that way we can get our message across. We do sexy things. I mean, really, if you think business aviation is amazing, right? But we don't do enough to promote it the way the young people, are exposed to it. And that's, I think, something that we all need to work as an industry to better and get better at. And it starts with us in this room, but it also starts with, the industry as a whole. So we have the OEMs here, we have a lot of the business jet operators here as well. How are you going to attract that talent? Well, the only way to do that is doing that, but also working with universities, schools, and promote that. A lot of the different industries, they have these fairs, university fairs, or they go to career fairs at schools. I don't think we do enough. I know some of the OEMs do in country, let's say in Canada for Bombardier, Gulfstream in the States, but do we do the same in the different regions? Because at the end of the day, that's one. The other thing that we've done at CA is there's another source of talent that we've untapped, women in aviation. There's not enough. And we have a couple of programs which are full scholarship supported. So we try and bring the best into the industry, but it has to start with not just us, but it has to start across the board, because there's a huge pipeline of talent available that is not being tapped. And if we are going to get to the numbers of people that we need for the industry, we need to do our best and go across all, male and female candidates.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. That's really interesting. Just touching on that point, I think it's a two-pronged approach, right? I think, this social media, this brand awareness is done by businesses as an entity, but as individuals. It's a lot easier to relate, in my opinion, to an individual than it is to a company. So just to add to that. And Mabel, in your opinion, can companies adapt their recruitment and retention strategies to appeal to younger and more mobile workforce?
Yeah, absolutely the talent pool is limited right now in business aviation. So, so that's why, and at my age, I use Facebook. My daughter's age, we are now using IG. I also need to learn how to use IG. The new generations, they are talking about work-life balance also. Not like us, 24/7 ready, work throughout the year, even you are holiday, as long as you got the internet, you are still replying the message, emails, right? It's our life. But the now new generation, they are not like us anymore, right? They are talking about the flexibility in Hong Kong. I don't know whether you know about it. It's the cost slash, right? They do not want to be dedicated in one job. They want to be in a couple roles. They may be at the daytime, they can be the KOL. At the nighttime, they work in a restaurant or something like that, right? So to them, and we need to promote our employer brand to them. So at least let them understand what is business aviation, right? They know aviation, but what is business aviation, right? So that's why we also had a summer internship program in Metrojet. We don't just absorb all those aviation background students, we also absorb different faculty students and then let them learn how to work in a real environment. And then we also bring them to have a brand visit to understand, oh, that is Mrs. Jet. I don't think that I saw them before or ever, right? So get and understand what is business aviation, what's job look like, right? On the retention part, they definitely is very difficult part. We need to invest a lot on that, not just only get the pay competitive, as actually we need to get their dedications, right? And by, from daily operation, from daily work, we need to tell them why. They are quick learner. They don't like to get the message on what I need to do. They want to understand why. Okay, why, right? And then for example, on the Metrojet, and we got the AOC Cayman. To some people, it's more on the business oriented, but in Metrojet, it's not just only on the business side, it's everyone's effort even back-end finance, HR, IT, even though not just purely on the flight operations or on the camel side, everyone involved. Everyone involved. So they know they also get involved in the business, not just purely on their subject matter expert. So that is something that we are now trying to do in the company and to keep our talents in Metrojet. Yeah.
Thank you. I suppose a nice lead-on question to that, and this always still baffles me, is that business aviation hasn't always had the best press for various reasons, and that negativity around the sector has undoubtedly grown in recent years. So my next question is to Winston and then Max, please. What is Bombardier, what is MJets doing to shift that narrative and make the industry more appealing to the younger generations?
Okay, can I go first? I think one of the things that we can shift is sustainability. So Bombardier are already into SAF fuel. So this is one of the initiatives that are going that we are not just hurting the environment, we are in to neutralize it. And the importance of having this business jet is to connect globally and reaching out to those remote places, one of them. And we do not promote just business jet as a luxury item. We think that it is to also work for Medevac, and it helps with all the missionized work, and also connect people from remote countries and so on. So this is one way we give a sense of purpose to younger generation. Hey, you come in here, it's not just all about the luxury item and sexiness. You're doing both ends of it. You're getting the good parts of it, and also doing the humanitarian side of it. So that's one thing. And then we also can promote DEI, diversity, and in this area of job, we can also open up to more women in aviation, and also inclusiveness of all people from all walks of life, or different ethnic groups, and so on. So we give a sense of purpose, change the whole outlook of business jet aviation. That's how I look at it. So not just about luxury, it's about both luxury and helping the world and connecting the world. And the people that we bring into this, sometimes they are the decision maker to a lot of important missions for a lot of countries. They are the top decision maker for most countries. They're the top 5–10% of every country. So these people need to connect to places like remote places. So yep, I want to change this whole concept and change the idea of business jet to the younger generation. So this will negate a bit their negativity on business jet.
Touching on the SAF, I found it fascinating that it was $25 an hour to offset your emissions, and how people can grumble at that is beyond me, but we've got some work to do, I suppose. Max, your view on that, please.
From my perspective, I think it's a bit contrary to what Winston may have suggested, simply because maybe Singapore is a bit different from the rest of the ASEAN region, because business aviation hasn't had that much negative publicity in the rest of Southeast Asia from a sustainability perspective or an economic gap perspective. It's all about transporting high-value people that contribute to the economy. And in the markets that we operate in, whether it's in Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia, and so on, everyone is kind of aware that this is the top of the contribution to the GDP, and they take it as it is. And us as an operator, we facilitate that, and we want to make sure that the next generation of management of MJets is across the region. Just adding on to some of the items that was discussed before, how the younger generation may want to look at what we call it content. So the younger generation is looking at content of what they can, I would call it, subscribe to while they're working at the company. And us, we're fortunate enough that we have a 360-degree perspective of business aviation, whether it's an AOC operator, an MRO, trip support, aircraft sales, and so on. So we have different content for them to rotate around and be able to, we call it subscribe to new content every day, so that they don't get bored, and it's called retention in a way. And that's what we're trying to facilitate at MJets.
I wonder if the users of private jets actually are the ones giving it the lavish lifestyle view, and maybe not giving it quite the right representation, but it's another way of looking at it. I wanted to touch on attracting and retaining the next generation, because it's one thing inspiring them, it's another thing attracting them, and it's absolutely another thing retaining them. So, Mabel, again, if you don't mind, what do you believe are the most effective ways business aviation can attract the next generation and compete with other industries that are fighting hard? You know, we're competing now more than ever, not just with commercial aviation or the rotary industry, but now plenty of other industries. And what can we do to fight for that young talent, please?
Yes, thanks. Well, it's really a difficult question, honestly, because like I mentioned, that the nowadays kids, they don't really keen on working at all. They are just work for fun. And then they treat the work, they need to find some fun parts at their work. So, you know, compared with 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we cannot just purely make the office like work, just a desktop, just a computer, just a conference room, meeting room. We need to get those, you know, employee-friendly program in place, like flexible work schedule, work from home, make the workplace fun, you know, get them involved in all those business, you know, get them understand what's going on in the business, right? So I think that is the things that we can do to retain our talent, actually, but at the same time for our, you know, not just only purely on the new generation, we also have our middle management, right, and the senior management team. We also need to retain all these good talents because they are very technical-driven person, very experienced. We cannot, and it's very difficult for us to get someone else in the market, right? So that's why we also need to understand, let them understand their career planning, career path, right, and then to, you know, we need to delegate the decision-making side on them, right? Sometimes make mistakes is fine, right? We need to allow mistakes happens, right? But we need to let them understand how we can learn from it. It's not just purely one person's fault, and then how we can make it as a team's effort, and then make it as their second family, a part of their own family. That is something that I will really try hard to infuse all these things into the company.
Thank you. Nimrod, have you got anything else you'd like to add to that, please?
I know money is an important part of it as well. I think, you know, if you look at you know, the salaries for pilots, it's very competitive. You can live a great lifestyle, right? And if you throw in a better work-life balance, and, you know, in corporate aviation, you do have contracts available, you know, 1 month on, 2 weeks off, and other models. So I think you have to really play with several of these elements to attract, and obviously some of the stuff that you also shared, Mabel. And I think aviation is still a very well-paid career, and flying a business jet is special. It's nothing like flying an airliner. I mean, I've been in a cockpit of both. I can tell you, one is a bus, the other is a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Bentley or whatever you want. It's just the avionics is second to none. So we have to, again, market that. We have to market that and show, you know, the differentiators and the lifestyle, and you get to travel to many exotic airports and countries and places that, if you're flying an airliner, especially if you start your career and you're starting, you know, on a low-cost carrier, you're pretty much a slave to the airline for at least the first couple of years till you build up your hours. I think business aviation definitely gives you a step up over the competitors.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan, what's one successful initiative that you've seen in ACS that's worked to retain this amazing talent in our sector?
Before I do one initiative, I just, to frame it, I read an article in CNA, I think it was a couple of months ago, and it said that the current generation, so Gen Z, I think the ages are, they are, I think, 13 to 26, they are much more likely to leave a role after around 3 years, 2.9 to 3 years, especially in Singapore, if they're not happy with the progression or the pay or any part. They're kind of a little bit more ruthless than previous generations. And it's kind of like, if it's not working for me, you know, then I'll just leave. You know, look after me, not the company, kind of thing. So I think it's planning around that. And one initiative, I mean, we've done lots, but one initiative that we kind of said to ourselves is we need to have a really clear career path What does a career look like from the moment that you join the company to, the moment that you reach director, and how do you get, climb the ladder at every single goal. So that's something that we did, and it worked really well. Because I think sometimes the tendency is, you kind of set out the what's needed to get promoted in the early parts of a career, for when you just joined, and you kind of, you progressing through the ranks earlier on. But as it gets to management and then kind of director, it gets a bit vague. We were certainly guilty of it. And I just don't think the new generation are going to be interested in that. They want very, very clear direction of, how am I going to move forward in your company? And if I can't move forward, I'm not interested in your company. So I think that's what we've got to think of. And yeah, so very, very clear sort of KPIs, targets for every single sort of promotion level from junior up to director. That's what ACS did, and it worked really well. We promoted a load of people. A load of people were really happy, but it was all sort of in the aim of long-term retention, which was really beneficial.
Great. Just to add to that, I think the whole context of job and career are very different, right? In my experience, the younger generations look at a career as a job, and to progress, to promote, to earn more money, they move, rather than stay fixed and work your way through. Not in all cases, of course, but in many cases. So it's something very much to be aware of, and I think that clear career path is absolutely crucial, yeah. And you've seen huge success in that across the whole group at ACS, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Max, how can business aviation adapt its culture and realities to better align with the values and expectations of the younger generations, ensuring that they feel engaged and see a future in the industry?
Well, just to add on to what maybe Brendan mentioned, as well as what I mentioned earlier in terms of the content, because they're all looking for content, they're all wanting to learn new things, because it's all about what the company can do for them as opposed to the other way around. So we always have to engage with them, ensuring that they see value in being in the workplace for us, and they actually learn something from it. As opposed to in the past, it's more about a workforce, but now it's more about an institution where they get content from us for them to progress in their career, hopefully within the same company that they're employed in, or if they're not satisfied, they will move on to the next place. And so it's our duty to make sure that our content is there, keep them focused and engaged, rotate them around, because that's what we do as our organization as well. We rotate people around different departments, so they're not fixated in a particular department, to ensure that they have, they fill in their knowledge gaps and learn about the industry more, because our industry is very niche, let's say, particularly in Southeast Asia, where the pool of talent is not very widespread like in Europe and North America, where it's easily to find people to replace. Here it's all about investing in people, making sure they stay and provide value in the organization. So.
Thank you. Winston, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I agree with all of their sayings. When a person starts work in the workplace, you really got to provide a career roadmap to them. And not just the career roadmap, also you got to provide a mentor from the very start, changing their roles every maybe year or two, so to let them get new experience, excited about it, and give them options. If you do not want to, let's say you stay in a particular department, you think that this is not the way you want it to be, there are other options for you to go to different departments or different subsidiary companies to grow. Because training a person is not cheap. It requires a lot of budget to do so. Instead of losing a person to other place, might as well keep them within the company and let them switch role within the companies. Because any experience and knowledge kept in the company is still valuable, even though it's not within the same department. So, other than just a career roadmap, trying to give a mentor in every department when the person is going to work there. And we have a lot of focus group, we open communication. The new trend of generation is over communication. Any form of communication is important. Do not stop talking to them. Do not think they will know when you instruct them. Ask them, do you understand or do you need help? I'm sad to say, right now, this generation, you need to put in a lot of helping hand. You need to guide them as if like it's our own children. So we got to care for them like our own family, not just another regular colleague or employee. Seek to understand their situation. And not every employee learn the same pace. though there are employees who learn slower, there are employees who learn faster. It's okay. Tell them there is a space for everyone to grow and not in just one department. They can grow anyway. Sometimes you may not grow up, you grow sideways, you grow in experience, you are more enriched, and you're doing the right thing for yourself as well. Not just the money itself, you're growing your knowledge as well.
I think there's a lot of ambition in the next generation, and I think we need to be careful not to look at it as impatience. We need to change that narrative that, you know, they're dreaming big. Why? Because they're exposed to a lot more, right? They see there's a lot more connectivity, there's a lot more in their face that they want to achieve. And it's very easy to go, it's a want now, but it's more a question of nurturing and mentoring that to make it to help them understand perhaps that that's achievable, but we've just got to take these steps to get there. Thank you. And we've talked about the retention piece. Of course, now it's about enabling the next generation of business aviation champions. So, Nimrod, can you give us your thoughts on, many young people are passionate about aviation, but don't necessarily know how to get started in it. What practical steps can companies take to remove entry barriers and encourage more of the next generation to join our beautiful industry?
I think we've got to market ourselves better, and like I said earlier, I think work with universities, schools, and explain that you don't need certain certificates to get into aviation. There's a lot of people think. When I was younger, I can tell you, when I was a child, everybody said, well, you need a university to become a pilot. Well, you don't. In certain countries, you might need to have that as a background, but I know in Europe, literally after your GCSEs, you can go in and become a pilot. You get your pilot license. And EasyJet has a program, and a lot of airlines are now encouraging young future pilots, engineers, to work for them and explaining, the barriers are not really there. I mean, these things are preconceptions that were there in the past. But I think, we as an industry, we need to work better with our universities, better with our schools, and show that some of these preconceptions that were there in the past don't really exist. And some of the things that we really need to do is apprenticeship programs. I know that we ourselves at CA have apprenticeship programs for the, for instance, for the simulator engineers. I know that Bombardier, you have a very similar program as well. We need to continue to develop that. And on the pilot side, we have what we call a second crew member positions at our training centers, because we need sometimes right seats. And that gives an opportunity for, young pilots that have got their commercial pilot license and don't have a job, but we put them on a type rating, and then they work with us for 3 years. And they basically, provide a seat support when we have customers coming singles. And I think the industry as a whole has to think, how can we do the same for our industry? And that's in the MRO business, the FBO business, like yourself, Brendan. You're looking at people who want to sell, and obviously you're nurturing that. You're getting people from school and elsewhere. And you're building that talent pool. And obviously you don't want to lose that, but I'm saying is you're investing in and creating people like yourselves, like ourselves, to become better and help the industry grow.
Thank you. And Max, last question actually before we go on to a Q&A. How can companies and leaders in business aviation better support, mentor and create opportunities for the next generation so that they feel confident in promoting aviation to others?
Well, as I touched on earlier, it's about content at the end of the day. They all want to have content that they learn and grow and develop from there. So at MJets, we also have like an apprentice program similar to what the rest of the panel here has as well. And we also have a management trainee program where the younger generation comes in without any knowledge of the industry. And we build them up. We invest them, because at the end of the day, we call it talent acquisition, right? So everything comes at a cost. So we heavily invest in their development, both soft skills and hard skills, and we make them go through the program and develop from there. Some of you in this room may know a lady called Gigi, who used to be at our headquarters at MJets. She started off as a management trainee, and she developed her role throughout the ranks, and now she's our general manager here in Singapore, running Wings Over Asia. And she's just 30. So it shows you we attract talent from the very beginning, build them up, invest heavily, making sure that they learn and develop a passion for the industry as well as for the company, and then we make sure it's a long-term career progression for them.
And has Gigi got a TikTok account?
She does, actually.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Time has flown by. I think we can now do a Q&A. All right. Okay. You need to get this up higher, man. I've got a bad neck already. Right. Hello. Is there a danger that the employer-employee relationship will get out of balance if you drive too much towards flexibility and benefits? From one of the Davids. Who would like to answer that one?
I would say yes to that. Because sometimes too much flexibility when you, like recent cases where you let them work from home, a lot of them do not want to come back to work and they lose the human touch and they're networking what we are doing here, which a lot of them look thinking that this kind of session is competent, I can do it from home. But it's different when you put faces to people you meet and talk to. So a lot of them lose the human communication skill. They are just talking to keyboards and emails. So we have to explain from the start, giving is easy, taking back is difficult. So the flexibility have to start by little. So I say yes, it's a bit of danger when you mix them too much. So I think Mabel as HR got to drive this.
Yeah, and it's true, honestly. So before we roll out any work from home program or flexibility work arrangement program, we need to be very careful. First of all, I also always get our management team together first, set the expectation, right? And then we need to align within the management first. Is something that and then we're in the right direction to go. Definitely not every time we got this align on everything, right? So, but to me, management team definitely needs to be the leaders in the company, and then we run out the program with all agreement, right? So next step, that will be our staff communications. We need to also clearly to express to our staff what is the company's expectation on that, what is the guidelines. We also spend quite of time in staff communications, okay, set up the policies, right, and set the rules. The staff are very, very smart, and they that means actually, even though our company is in Hong Kong, even though I work in UK, that means it's fine. But I fully agree that in business aviation, although it's a very technical-driven industry, but we still need a lot of human people touch, face-to-face, right? So we just limit the number of days that the staff can work from home a week, right? We have a very clear and robust policy in place. So we also have a review regularly to see how's the policy, how's the practice right now. We are not saying that, and then once the policy route is forever. We also set the trial period to review, to get the management's voice, opinion on that, what the staff sees on that. It's interestingly, even we roll out the work from home policy, and then we also get some staff, they work office Monday to Friday every week, every day, right? Because they also like to get in touch with the people, face-to-face meeting is more efficient, right? Yeah.
For the record, work from home kills young careers. I'm just saying it. You can quote me, all right? In most cases, I said. Which one of you have been working with local schools and education systems to promote business aviation, and what you have been done?
I guess I'll start with that again because I work locally. Yes, I work with most of the local polys and ITE, and I go to outreach program. I go and do speaking. I speak to all of the lecturers and school teachers, promote Bombardier, promote aviation. Sometimes my outreach is not just to promote Bombardier, but to get people into aviation. In Singapore itself, every year we got 1,000 over graduates, but we have a high leakage rate. A lot of them do not end up in working in aviation line. So I'm going to tell them not just the sexy part of it, like what I mentioned just now, is all good, whether you're in business jet, commercial jet, and if you're not technically good, there's also a lot of support jobs in the aviation career, and then charter service, doing camo, doing planning. So yeah, I've been working in a lot of schools. I've been working with EDB, Singapore Economic Development Board, and JTC to do these promotions. And then we also encourage a lot of internship. Actually, it's from all this internship that I got a lot of my apprentice. What I promote in internship is, okay, come to us for internship. It can be 3 to 6 months during your tertiary school. So after that, you go back, you know how the company likes, how the culture system works. Then you may come back for again, another attachment, internship. And from those 2 internships, they know what is aviation like, they like the programs. And soon after they graduate, they will join us as apprentice or join us as a full-time employee in support function. So it's from all these outreach programs to school that we get them enticed to join the aviation. Sometimes they may not even join Bombardier, but I introduce them to different companies. Because through my years of working experience, I know a lot of people from different companies. I think it's all right if he doesn't like to work in business jet, like commercial jet. I know people from ST, I know people from SIEC. If you think you want to work overseas, okay, I'll try to connect you with somebody there or from LinkedIn. So don't think it's just for our own company, but think more for the world, for aviation.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, I think this has been well attended, so I'm pleased that everyone realises the significance of the topic. So thank you all. I hope this has been interesting, and I hope you've got something to take away. Thank you to our wonderful panellists. You've been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. And well done to Alistair and Louisa. Another great event. We all love CJI, and hopefully you'll have us back. I've got 2 thoughts I want to leave. I've totally run over. I'm sorry, but I think these are really important. First of all, for the aspiring leaders in this room, if you don't underestimate the value of mentorship. If you haven't got a mentor, go and find yourself one. It will really help progress your careers. And secondly, look, you guys and girls are the leaders of business aviation. And I think that with that comes a huge responsibility. Not just to fly the flag for the industry day to day, but I think you've got to nurture the seeds of the future leaders. So, in my opinion, the next time you're with a young person, you need to be telling them about why you got into aviation, why it excites you, and why they should be getting into it. Because if we can do that today, it's not just going to safeguard the sector, but it's going to help it thrive for generations to come. Thank you very much.